We're going to break down our low dragon lunge. So low dragon lunge in particular is going to focus on our semimembranosus, semitendinosus, which is going to be our kidney pathway. Now this is a little tricky for people to understand. They have a tendency to want to take this more into a sleeping swan shape, which is more similar to a half pigeon. We're not actually doing that. We're just holding a quite a deep lunge. So it's basically it would be more similar to a Hanumanasana, so a full splits variation, but over time and fully supported, we'll be able to get there. So it can be a really gentle pose as well. Now the way to do this is you're going to have your right foot out in front of you and your left knee back behind you. You may want to have a little bit of cushioning for that left knee back behind you, so you could put a blanket or something there. You could also double over your mat to create that cushioning for that knee. Then you're going to have the bolster and the block over to the side of your hip. So this won't go underneath your hip, it'll go off to the side. Bolster and block, like so. So left knee back behind you, start in a high dragon lunge, and then you're going to start to walk that front foot further and further and further and further and further and further and further. And it's going to get to a point where those toes naturally just want to start to come up off the ground, and that's where you stop. Now, I know that this is too high for me, and so I'd actually do this without the block, but I'll show you what it looks like with me with the block anyway. So with the leg out in front of you, you notice you're still in a lunge position, but a really deep one. Starting to feel something through the front of the hip there, and you're starting to get something in your semimembranosus, semitendinosus. So then as we roll onto our right hip, so you lean sideways, you're actually still in the position, but your hips are rolling to the side, and you stay leaning to the side. So we're basically in that deep lunge, but we're leaning to the side. So if you're starting to square your hips, then you're starting to effectively externally rotate that front leg, and that's going to bring you more in towards like a half pigeon-y type shape, sleeping swan deer shape. And so for this position, like I said, block is not necessary for me, and you will have to eyeball this with your students and go around and assist people, because a lot of people won't be aware of where they should be in this position. It's quite a foreign one to a lot of people. And then so I'd roll onto my side, and so again, I'm still in this lunge position, leaning to my side. So it's still the same position. I'm not in a half pigeon. I'm not in a sleeping swan deer pose. Going to have the block off to the side, and elbow just drops onto that. So that's going to support me to keep this variation rolling off to the side. You might get something through the front of the hip here. This is going to be into your psoas. It's going to be into your kidney pathway, but what we're looking for mainly is your semimembranosus, semitendinosus. So a lot of people won't feel this, so you'll have to get them to physically feel this with their fingers. So 2 fingers on the inside edge of the knee, 2 little tight little tendons like banjos, and remember we're looking for tension, not looking for pain. So people might be like, oh, I don't feel this, and then you feel it, and you can like, whoa, that's like 2 banjo strings. That is exactly what you need, and that'll help people understand it, and they engage with the practice more, and they understand yin more as well, which is really cool. So with that right leg out in front of you, you can kind of support your head like this. Now, if this is an issue for people, which it will be, this will be a very tricky pose for you to instruct, then give them the option of having the knee forward like so. So you're basically in almost like an Ardha Hanumanasana shape with the knee forward basically. And then you're just going to roll forward and come forward like so. And you might need to have a block or 2 blocks to help people to come forward. If this is causing pain in the knee, then they need to lift themselves up more. And then this is going to change it a little bit. So it's going to go from your semimembranosus, semitendinosus, and take it probably a little bit more into your biceps femoris, which is the other hamstring. Now, so far as compression points, realistically, there's not going to be any. Like if somebody's got an issue with our sacroiliac joints, they've got a lot of pain at the back here. Most people that have a sacroiliac joint don't really have a sacroiliac joint issue, don't really have a sacroiliac joint issue. They just have like a pain in one of the muscles which is attaching over that area, like a tight glute, a tight quadratus lumborum or a tight iliocostalis, and it's referring a pain down there because the muscle's elastic but the connective tissue isn't, so it's pulling more on that point just at the back, so they get pain there. So, but if they do have a sacroiliac joint actual issue, then bringing this leg back might be uncomfortable for them. So that's the only real compression point you're going to get. You might get a compression point at the front here, and that's just because your femur bone is going to press into the frontal hip point here. So you're going to get a little bit of discomfort there for those people. It's tricky because all you need to do is try and bring that hip more onto the inside of that thigh, and so they can actually then come forward. I get a little bit of compression realistically. Anybody that can bring their knee to the chest, that's compression. You can't go any further than that. So you're going to have to kind of work your way with those people. And again, kidney inside, that inside edge of the knee, and kidney in your psoas, in your hip flexor behind you. So it's a good kidney pose, this one. And that's your low dragon lunge.